For the past several months, the eyes of the nation has been on Atlanta, Georgia, particularly Fulton County, focusing on the case involving former President Donald Trump, who is being prosecuted by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. On August 14, 2023, a grand jury convened by District Attorney Fani Willis in Fulton County, Georgia, indicted former President Donald Trump and 18 of his allies on violation of 16 Georgia statutes. These charges include, but are not limited to, violations of Georgia's Racketeering, Influenced, and Corruption Organization Act, or RICO. The charges against Mr. Trump and his so-called allies are numerous. Charges include making false statements and writings, solicitation of violation of oath of public officer, impersonating a public officer and conspiring to impersonate, and conspiracy to commit forgery, filing false documents, criminal attempt to influence witnesses, conspiracy to commit election fraud, conspiracy to commit computer theft and computer trespass, conspiracy to commit computer invasion of privacy, conspiracy to defraud the state, and perjury. Now, when one looks at the list of charges, the number of people indicted, some, especially those on the Democratic side who don't like Mr. Trump and happy to see him indicted, would think this thing is going to be a slam dunk. For the average Georgian who has been charged in Fulton County, if you got 19 charges, they're going to get you at least on 5 of them. So it's pretty much over. But there's been a twist in this particular case. Despite the popularity Ms. Willis had when she ran for office 4 years ago, her popularity is somewhat going through a change. District Attorney Fani Willis now finds herself under the gun. They recently had a hearing in Atlanta, Georgia, to disqualify Ms. Willis from the case. Ms. Willis is facing allegation from one of the defense attorneys stating that she and the chief prosecutor in the Trump case had a romantic relationship. Not only did they have an alleged romantic relationship prior to the charges, allegedly that relationship is still going. One of the allegations made against Ms. Willis is that she was paying Mr. Wade from the seized property fund under the jurisdiction of the district attorney's office. Recently, the Georgia State Senate held a hearing to hear these allegations. Now, this is where the story gets interesting. It's not uncommon for defense attorneys to make allegations of a need for recusal for judges, even arguments that prosecutors should be disqualified. But something's interesting here with Ms. Willis's case, because this could possibly be the first step in not just disqualifying Ms. Willis from this case, but removing her from her office. It's highly unlikely that the Georgia Senate is just hearing this particular matter for fun. At the end of this hearing process, a report is going to be generated and most likely turned over to the Speaker, to the leadership of the Senate, meaning the Lieutenant Governor, and most likely turned over to the Governor, who will most likely make a recommendation to the Attorney General for Georgia, Christopher Carr. What many people don't realize is that just as Ms. Willis is prosecuting former President Trump, the state of Georgia may in turn choose to prosecute Ms. Willis for abuse of power. They'll do this, or potentially may do this, under laws governing public corruption of elected officials. Why would they want to do this? Why embarrass Ms. Willis this way? Well, if you look at some of the players who are charged with President Trump, there's a list of attorneys, including an assistant U.S. Attorney General. But when you start to scroll down through the list, you'll see that Sean Steele is a Georgia state senator who was also on the list of people being prosecuted by Ms. Willis. So when you take a look at the list of people being prosecuted in this case, it seems more like a lot of DC people until you get down to the bottom of the list where you see a fellow Georgia senator is being prosecuted, which may be why the Georgia Senate is now looking at using its power to target Fani Willis for what they believe is an abuse of her power. This simply is a typical tit for tat. We often see this in Washington, D.C., but now it seems like we're going to see this in the state of Georgia. Something tells me that regardless of what decision the judge renders regarding whether he will or won't disqualify Ms. Willis, this matter will not end. I do not see a scenario where the Georgia Senate will let this matter go. The likelihood, especially when the entire Georgia Senate is also up for re-election this year, as well as Ms. Willis. You see, elections make strange bedfellows, and it often makes politicians realize, you know what, I haven't done much lately. My name is not in the paper. People may ask me, what are you all doing at the Capitol? Well, I may not be able to say that I've addressed any critical issues in terms of the actual governance of Georgia, but one thing that they may be able to say is they put that black woman in her place. And that might be the motivation that they need. Prosecuting or encouraging the Attorney General for Georgia to go after Fani Willis is going to look great on a lot of campaign ads in Georgia, particularly southern Georgia and the northern parts of Georgia in the mountains, where Donald Trump is extremely popular. Now, they're not going to say that we just had the Senate encourage the state officials to go after the Fulton County District Attorney. What they'll say is that we are standing up for freedom. We're protecting our democracy. We're protecting Georgia. We're protecting America. They're going to paint Fani Willis as one of the worst things that ever came to this country. She's going to be 2 shades shy of being a member of Al-Qaeda when they get done with the campaign ads. That's this kind of sad part about politics, because there are some legitimate questions that really should be looked at in this case. Is it possible that there might have been some shenanigans going on in the Fulton County District Attorney's office that may warrant a legitimate disqualification? Possible. We don't know. Is it possible that maybe some members of the Georgia Senate legitimately believe that this is an abuse of power by a prosecutor motivated by political ambition? Yeah. It's possible. That could be the case. But I don't think better angels are prevailing here. I think this is old-fashioned, don't start none, won't be none. And in the eyes of most of the people in the Georgia Senate, Fani Willis started it, they're going to finish it. And as we say in the South, we will teach you that fat meat is greasy. This has been Scott Davis for Headliner News. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.